Hello everyone, so this is talk number 2 on Zen, the art of joy and awareness, I believe was the title. So what I was saying earlier, so let's talk about the point, let's get to the marrow of the bone. We want to end our suffering, and we can do so by remembering to look at the moment, changing our words, because our thoughts are no different than mind. Our speech is no different than mind. So if we're saying something negative, we're bringing our awareness towards something negative. If we're saying something positive, we're bringing our awareness towards something positive or wholesome. But don't confuse wholesome with sense pleasure, temporary sense pleasures. Don't confuse joy with that, sukha with that, because like Ajahn Chah used to say, the head of the snake is where the teeth are, and you're most likely to get bitten by the teeth. And the tail is where people usually slide their hand down, and that's what we teach beginners, is hold it by the tail. And the tail is better than the teeth, better than the head, but it's still that joy, that temporary sense pleasure is still the other end. It's not, maybe doesn't appear to have so much teeth, but it does. So it's best to just let that all go altogether, and then the true sukha could come, the true joy. And the question always arises, how do we let stuff go? And through my investigations, I've learned that letting things go is not the hard part. That's the easy part. If you burn yourself on hot water, you know not to touch it, or the fire, you know not to touch it. It's not. If you grab a hot cup of coffee and it burns your hands, you don't need a step-by-step instruction manual to set down the coffee. You instinctively know. Set down the coffee. Instinctively know to set down the coffee. What is the more difficult part is to remember to look. To remember to check in with your body and emotions once in a while and see how you're doing. And the more this becomes a habit, the more momentum is built, and the easier everything becomes, and the easier it flows. Like, sure, everything's more difficult at first, like exercise or lifting weights or training for marathons or anything in life you do. Art, sure, you're going to stumble at first. It takes a little practice, but after a while you build momentum. Excuse me. And it's easy as pie. It's easy to remember to look. And what's also interesting is the deeper, more subtle aspects of this thing we're talking about, which is this peace and pure unborn awareness is our natural state, our true nature, so to speak. It's so subtle, and not only for me, from what I've discovered, is remembering to look and being joyful, sati, but also part of that process is one of my teachers, Dhamma Dasa, he would say it's like not the eightfold path, but like the eightfold doorway. It's like a doorway that's available here and now. And remembering to look with wholesome thoughts also, for me, is the wholesome thought of just being with your movements in the body, being with your breath in each moment, each step you take. It's very similar to the old Zen saying of, when eating, just eat; when drinking, just drink; when walking, just walk. But it also has that Thich Nhat Hanh style of full mindfulness in the classical sense of being aware with their movements. And whatever we're doing, we're becoming more in line with our true nature. The peace isn't just buried under the trash pile anymore. The peace is cleaned out and is present in everything we do, in our artwork, in our actions, in our movements, in our silence, in everything we do. Our true nature is present. And it's like, okay, cool, Buddhism, what's the big deal? Excuse me. It's like, okay, we get it, the Dhamma, the truth, that's awesome. But like, how does this help me? It helps you because it opens up our perceptions in a way to experiencing our true nature in a way that we never had following societal standards before. It's amazing to disappear, so to speak, to cognitively just vanish. This past and future self vanish. This wanting and desiring for so many things vanishing. In a Taoist sense, it's like there's no longer nothing or something. You're beyond both nothing and something. Like Buddha Dasa would call it like voidness. And some Buddhists would call voidness a very beautiful, unattached, unclinging mind and heart. Robert Adams' beautiful title of his book, Silence of the Heart. There's a silence where there's no more clinging because you couldn't even conceive of somebody there to cling to anything. So many students have so many questions. What about this? What about this? What about that? What about this? In my mind, when I'm hearing like students or people or my students or... Sorry, hold on one sec. Hello, everybody. So yeah, we kind of disappear, and I hear students and people, like I was saying, sorry if I already talked about this, but kind of lost my train of thought or whatever, but asking so much questions, asking so many things, and that's fine, of course, but also part of me is like, this is not a receiving an answer test. This is not a receiving an answer and coming up with questions practice. It's a being practice. It's an existing practice. It's a silent emptiness practice. It's a compassion-filled practice. It's a letting go practice. It's like a garbage can that wishes it was clean, or somebody wants to clean a garbage can, but they keep adding more and more things. Emptying our minds, I'm not afraid of this phrase. Some people, I guess, don't like that phrase, but empty your mind is a great phrase. Empty your mind by letting go of all these attachments, becoming more unattached to all these things. Emptying it will help clean it, not adding more. And so many students these days are constantly searching for, if they're not searching for it for themselves, they're searching for it in other people who have, with the same old Western mindset of, we've climbed the mountain, we've ran